So I want to show you how to do an inequality that has a variable on both sides of the inequality symbol, and then I'm going to show you how to graph the solution. Now there are two ways to solve an inequality that has a variable on both sides, and I really want you to pay attention and to write down both ways because they're both instructive on different ways to handle when the variable ends up on the left side of the inequality and when the variable ends up on the right side of the inequality. Because unlike equations, it really matters which side they end up on because of the way the inequality symbol faces. So I want you to write down both ways as you're taking notes. This is not like an equation where if the variable's on the left or if the variable's on the right, it's okay because it doesn't matter which side it's on. With an inequality, it really matters which side the variable's on because if the inequality is opening towards the variable or if it's opening away from the variable, that really affects the answer a lot. So I'm going to show you both ways and I want you to write them both down. So the reason that I say there are two ways to go about doing this is because when you have a variable on both sides, like we do here, we have a 3a on the left and a 4a on the right. One of the things we could do, in fact, probably your first instinct here, is to subtract 3a on both sides. And in fact, let's go ahead and do that first. Let's make that our first method, is to subtract 3a on both sides using the subtraction property. So this is going to cause these 3a's here to cancel. 3a minus 3a is 0, leaving us with just 6. There's our inequality symbol, and 4a minus 3a is just a. So the way that we would read this is a little unusual. We would say 6 is less than or equal to a. And that's fine, but it's unusual to read it that way. Typically with an inequality, we want the variable to be on the left side. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to take this inequality and we're going to flip it where the variable's over on the right side and the 6 is over on the, sorry, got my directions mixed up, where the variable's on the left side and the numbers over on the right. We've done this with equations lots of times, but with equations, we didn't have to worry about the equal sign in the middle because an equal sign is pointing the same way no matter which way you flip it. An inequality symbol isn't. So here's where we have to make sure that the inequality symbol stays pointing in the right direction even when we switch the variable and the number. In our original solution here, the inequality symbol was opening towards the A. So when we flip it and we put the A on the other side, we need to make sure it is still opening towards the A. A is greater than or equal to 6. So when we flip it around and we move the variable to the other side, the inequality still has to open towards the same variable. It's really important. If we don't do that, we'll get the wrong answer. So that's one way that we can solve this, is we can begin by subtracting 3a on both sides. Subtracting 3a on both sides is probably how you originally would have done it if I hadn't said anything to you, for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is we avoid a negative variable. And the other reason is that if we were to do it the other way, which would be to subtract 4a on both sides first, not only do we get a negative a, which is not our favorite thing to have a negative variable, but then over here on the right side of the inequality, 4a minus a is 0. So we end up with a 0 over on the right side, which is fine, just unusual, but it's fine. So now we need to isolate the variable. We're going to subtract 6 on both sides. So we get negative a. The plus 6 minus 6 is going to cancel. Positive 6 minus 6 is 0. Less than or equal to negative 6. Okay, so we've got a negative a and a negative 6. Clearly, we need to change that to be a positive a. And the way that we have done this in an equation is the same way that we do it in an inequality, which is that we can either multiply both sides by a negative 1 or divide both sides by a negative 1. Same effect no matter what we do. I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 1. If you multiply, it's fine, same thing. Negative a divided by negative 1 is a. Negative 6 divided by negative 1 is positive 6, just like that. Negative divided by negative is positive. Now, what you'll notice is that if I take my inequality symbol and I leave it the same, it will be facing in the wrong direction. We already know what the answer should be. The answer should be with the inequality symbol opening towards the A. If I leave the inequality symbol the same over here, the second method that I'm solving it, it's going to be pointing in the wrong direction. The inequality symbol needs to be flipped. And in fact, this is true anytime you multiply or divide by a negative. So when multiplying or dividing, both sides of an inequality by a negative, write this down. When multiplying or dividing both sides of an inequality, oh, make sure you spell inequality correctly, an inequality by a negative, you must flip or reverse the inequality symbol. If you multiply or divide by a positive, you don't have to do this. It's only if you multiply or divide by a negative, you have to flip the inequality symbol. And that's the reason I wanted to show you both ways, because one way you move the A to the other side and you have to flip the inequality symbol when you do that. And the other way is you divide by a negative and you have to flip the inequality symbol when you do that as well. Okay, so they end up looking the same no matter which way you go, but you have to remember that if you multiply or divide by a negative, the inequality symbol flips. Now, the last thing I said we were going to do is learn how to graph this on a number line. So let's do a number line. We need to make sure that our number line includes 6 because that's our sort of midpoint here, 6. So the way we do this is we put a circle on 6. Now, if our symbol was just greater than or less than, we would put an open circle like this. But because it has the equal to mark, we're going to color the circle in. Coloring in the circle means including the number 6. Okay, so open circle is for greater than or less than. Colored in circle is for greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. But we want to say not only is the answer 6, the answer is all the numbers above 6 as well. And so what we do on our number line is we draw an arrow. Let me make it really thick here. Draw an arrow going up saying it's 6, and it's also 7, 8, 9, and so on, every number that is bigger than 6 as well. So that's how we would graph the answer to an inequality. 6, and then all of the numbers that are bigger than 6 as well. So this is two different ways to solve an inequality that has a variable on both sides, and then also how to graph the solution to an inequality.